With great games like Tears of the Kingdom potentially not getting DLC, it has reminded me of the purpose of DLC in gaming and made me realize that the modern way DLC is handled and how the average game has twisted the way gamers perceive DLC in general. Let's get this out of the way pronto. I'm not a hater of the idea of DLC, nor believe that games entirely shouldn't have any, because for the most part, DLC is pretty solid and it can actually benefit a series. A great example is literally any FromSoft game, because the DLCs always hit with them. I am of the belief that to have DLC be used in your series consistently, it should likely be easier for the fans of that said series that has been around for a while to trust that it will be good. Back to the FromSoft example, Elden Ring is releasing the Shadow of Erdtree DLC quote unquote soon and is highly expected to be good because they have a great track record when it comes to hitting it out the park with their expansions. The problem really arises when a game releases the unfinished DLC or the game is just not finished and the DLC is what the game is clutched on to be better a little bit. Kind of like with Cyberpunk, which is seemingly gotten a lot better with the Phantom Liberty DLC that is releasing, but it feels strained when the hyped thing for years was the initial release of the game, and that doesn't land as it should have. But the DLC shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be the crutch. It should be an expansion, an additive to a game, and widen the scope of what already was in the base game to begin with. Now, I know modern gaming doesn't really have too many fully finished and realized games that are complete, but I personally, in my limited wisdom, believe that full-ass games should be encouraged with sustainable and enjoyable content separate from the concept of DLC. Tears of the Kingdom for now has made it very clear that they feel confident with the product and full package that they delivered, which is a great thing, and the game was heavily enjoyed and loved. DLC isn't necessary whenever the product is just good. There really isn't a better way to state this. The games like Shadow of Colossus, Devil May Cry 3, Super Mario World, and so many other games that are just great without the idea of adding more content later for more money. The process is straightforward and ends with the purchase from the consumer and the fantastic experience that they get from the game that they just purchased. Nothing else needed. Don't get it twisted, alright? Don't get it twisted at all. DLC can be insanely quality and helpful. Look at Sonic Frontiers. Game was pretty solid on its own, had some issues, most definitely, and the DLC positively impacted the game for the most part. There's some problems, I'm not gonna lie. Now that we have established that DLC should be positive for a game's continued overall experience, what if it doesn't? What if content is being cut to be added later behind a paywall? With the crusty monetization systems of modern games, Diablo, games have felt the need to cut back and add things that should be there in the base launch of a game, but are put away so that they can drip feed you that content you want and farm your wallets for that sweet green cheddar. Starfield unfortunately came out to a very mid response, which blows because I really wanted to love it, and if you do, that's awesome, but how long will it take for the game to be accepted as a good job? Will we need to go through some wild downloadable content? Who knows? The game might just get clutched by DLC. It might be great in a couple years, which would suck as well because it should have been great off the bat. A general rule of thumb when it comes to if DLC is good or bad, simply ask yourself, does this hurt my original interpretation and enjoyment of what I experienced? If so, likely the DLC has done something to hinder what it should be raising up. I love Breath of the Wild to death, but those waves of DLC really lack content and purpose, since by the time you get to them, everything is done. So there really isn't any purpose of you going back and going through the world again. And the master mode is literally just not actively designed for the game. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for it. Luckily though, with games like Baldur's Gate 3 and Tears of the Kingdom, I can feel a bit more secure that maybe tides will shift back into just releasing good ass titles and gamers will come and enjoy them. Alright, you give gamers good games and they have a great time. We're very caveman minded folk. We see a good game, we play it, we like it, we talk about it, and we spread that information around. It's incredible that both these games did ridiculous numbers, and hopefully the trend does catch on, but at least we can still trust in these folk to deliver some amazing DLC experiences. Hey, thank you all for watching to the end. I hope you enjoyed this semi-different video. All right, I want to talk more about general broad stroke gaming topics like this. All right, nostalgia is next. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you all later. Hit the bell too. Peace.